Support for This News is So Gay comes from the LGBTQ Opportunity Fund of the Cleveland Foundation, leveraging philanthropy to empower LGBTQ communities. Welcome to This News is So Gay. I'm your host, Ken Schneck, editor of the Buckeye Flame, Ohio's LGBTQ newsroom. Thanks so much for joining us. We interrupt your regularly scheduled LGBTQ Reporters Roundtable to bring you a special edition of our podcast. This is
Extra, read all about it.
Extra Extra is an opportunity to go behind the headlines and learn more about the field and those who shape possibilities for LGBTQ journalists and LGBTQ news coverage at large. I am so excited this week to talk about the organizations that are supporting LGBTQ reporters out there, which then helps the news actually get to you all. Joining me this week, Executive Director of NLGJA, the Association of LGBTQ journalists, Adam Pawlus. Adam, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
I should here highlight, I don't know if you know this, Adam, in full transparency, I am on the board of the Association of LGBTQ journalists.
Yes, we're excited to have you. And the only thing I'll add to your introduction is that my pronouns are he, him.
Thank you so much, Adam. And Executive Director of the Trans Journalists Association, an award-winning journalist in their own right, Tre'vell Anderson. Tre'vell, what a treat to have you on the podcast.
Hello. Thanks for having me. So glad to be here.
We are here. We are assembled. Let's dive in. Let's talk about history. Adam, let's start with you. Give us the brief history of NLGJA.
So NLGJA was originally founded in 1990. The catalyst was when the American Society of News Editors commissioned our founder, Leroy Aarons, who was the editor at Oakland Tribune at the time, to conduct a survey of 250 gay and lesbian journalists. So later that year, he announced to ASNE at their national convention the results of the survey. And the results were that the coverage of the queer community was at best mediocre, with fewer than 60% of the colleagues were told about sexual orientation or shared. Fewer than 7% said their work environments were supportive, and Leroy Aarons closed the speech by coming out publicly. So,
Wow.
Yeah, 4 months later, he convened a group of journalists in his home in California, and NLJ was formed. Since then, we've fought on the front lines for fair and accurate coverage of the treatment of LGBTQ communities, issues, and individuals, both in newsrooms and in news stories. We've helped queer journalists secure employment benefits such as health insurance for domestic partners. We've helped diversity in newsrooms by supporting queer journalists through their careers with fellowships, trainings, scholarships, and awards. And we've helped guide and educate the industry in coverage of complex and sensitive topics like HIV and AIDS, the fight for marriage equality, and the current legislative battle being waged against queer rights and especially the trans people. Most recently, I've been really thrilled to work with our colleagues at TJA and Tre'vell to uplift trans voices.
Well, that is way better than mediocre. I don't like that that's how we launched, but yes, that inspired us. Tre'vell, how about the Trans Journalists Association, a much newer organization to the field?
Very much newer organization to the field. We were founded in the summer of 2020 by a couple dozen trans journalists who felt like we needed our own organization, right? Where the needs and the specific perspectives of trans and gender expansive journalists in this industry aren't just, kept in mind, but are centered in how we're moving forward and building the future of journalism we want. And so the organization started off, as many of our sibling organizations have started off, with like a group of people coming together and be like, we should do this thing. And over time, it's grown into where we're encroaching on our 6th year now. And then last year, we transitioned from an all volunteer organization, providing some of the same resources and services that NLGJA NLGJA provides, to having staff. And so I was the first full-time staff member of the organization. We now have our second full-time staff member, our program director, CD, and we are continuing to capacity build because, as you might imagine, there's a lot going on right now. Particularly with journalists, with trans people, with queer people, and so we're busy, but we're definitely digging our heels in for the moment and the journey ahead.
I always feel partial, and I will always feel partial to the Trans Journalists Association because the Buckeye Flame and the Trans Journalists Association launched the same month. And so it was just a wonderful confluence. And let's start with the positive about where we're at right now with LGBTQ plus journalists and LGBTQ plus coverage. We'll start with you, Tre'vell. What's going well in our field right now? We're going to get to the challenges, I promise.
What's going well?
Because you all have built community through the organization.
Absolutely. Well, one of the things I will highlight that is going well is we are seeing a lot of worker-owned, independent-owned zines and blogs and independent publications sprouting up by our members, right? In response to some of the bad stuff that we will get to, we see folks taking it into their own hands, right? And not allowing, some of these systems and strictures, right, within our industry to keep or push them out. They're deciding to take it into their own hands and still do that kind of storytelling, that kind of reporting that we particularly need, especially in this moment. And so I think that's something that is really going well for us as a community. We're really being afforded the opportunity to erect spaces, right, that will do the kind of reporting that we say we want, right? And for our organization, that's accurate, nuanced coverage of trans rights and communities. And so I'm so surprised and wonderful to see, right, that we are helping to develop what will be, this international ecosystem of publications by and for trans folks. And I think, that's important, especially now, but at any point in time or political history.
I think that's huge, especially because there is just so much gatekeeping in our field, particularly around who is defined as a journalist. And so that was our big deal with this podcast, was to push back against that from day one. And I encourage listeners to check out our episode a few weeks ago with some bloggers, although we know that one of the challenges is that we need these mainstream outlets to actually credit the bloggers when they break the news that they are actually breaking. Adam, how about for you? What's going well in our field right now? Give us something positive.
I think what's exciting is the talent and the voices are there. There are so many bright and brilliant LGBTQ plus journalists working right now. At our convention and during our Excellence in Journalism Awards, I get to see that. I get to see it in action, behind the scenes. And that work is being made possible by newsrooms that are pushing back and raising those voices and making sure that the voices are heard. I think of outlets like the Buckeye Flame and the work you're doing, Aaron Haynes in the 19th, Franco Stevens in Curve Magazine, Mark Siegel with the Philadelphia Gay News, and Washington Blade. Like, so many outlets are really telling the part of our story that wouldn't otherwise be told. And that's critical. As I kind of look at journalists as being real-time historians that are documenting for the future what our story is. So having those voices is so critical.
I love that. And so we'll just skip the next question. There are no challenges. Everything's fine. No,
everything's great. It's good, Ken.
We will then start with you, Tre'vell. I guess my question is maybe less about what we need to work on, because we know that there's so much and we know that there are so many challenges. Where do you start in wrapping your mind around it? Like, where's a good entry point? Because, and we've talked about this, we actually talked about this with Mark from the Philadelphia Gay News months ago. It can be so overwhelming. And if we make all those checklists, I'd be nervous. I wouldn't know where to start because there are so many items on there. And particularly for trans journalists, we know that that's the case. Where's the entry point, Tre'vell? Where do we start?
This is such a great question. So I'll answer it both from kind of, I feel like, our organizational standpoint, and then also from perhaps the individual standpoint for yourself or for the folks who are listening. So for us as an organization, we're walking and chewing gum at the same time, by which I mean we are looking at the ways that our members are just generally pushed out of the industry and wanting to rectify that and support folks in their career development and professional development. We are also very much aware of, the kind of narratives that exist in many of these newsrooms that make accurate, nuanced coverage of trans rights and communities quite difficult, right? Partly from, a general ignorance standpoint, right? Just not knowing trans people, just not being in community with trans people. And then obviously we're very much aware of the ideological and politically motivated perspectives that also have seeped into many of our nation's newsrooms. And so we're doing it all. We're having conversations with the New York Times. We are calling, the Washington Post out for publishing unconfirmed, information that exacerbates the negative experiences that trans people are having every day. We are developing our own resources, right, to be of use to the industry. We have our style book and coverage guide, which, similar to NLGJA's, is a resource and a tool, right, for folks. We also, late last year, launched the Trans News Initiative, which is a data tracker that tracks how mainstream news is covering trans rights and communities. And so beyond just a kind of personal or anecdotal approach that we often have to take when we have these conversations, we now can point to specific data that shows, right, that the industry is covering a host of things outside of the beauty of our lives and the realities and the truths of how we show up in the world, so much more, and how that's having an impact on what we see in terms of the political landscape, right, that we are navigating. So organizationally, we're hitting every side that we can because we have to, right? But we are also being very much intentional, to your point, to resist what we know is a kind of overwhelm that is intentional. They want us to be overwhelmed, right? So that we are overwhelmed to the point of inaction, so that we are overwhelmed to the point of not continuing to do the kind of impactful reporting that we are known to do. And so that brings me to what I feel like folks individually, right, can be doing, right? And I first and foremost, I feel like journalists, you yourself can make a commitment to how you want to operate and move in times such as these, right? Because you can have various individuals who are part of your reporting experience influence that in one way or another, or you can decide for yourself, right, what role you want to play in this first draft of history that we are supposedly putting together. And so I think if folks start where you are, right? Which is making sure that if you are a reporter, a journalist, a producer, or whatnot, that you yourself are learned up, right, about the ways that coverage should look like, right, when it is ethical, when it is just, when it is rooted and informed by the realities of trans people. And then from there, if you're focusing on your newsroom and your reporting, and Adam is focusing on NLGJA and what they can do and support, and Trans Journalists Association is over here. I'm also a very vocal member of NABJ, so I be lighting them up over there too, right? Because all of us, right, have a role to play in ensuring the future of our democracy from a journalistic standpoint. And I see journalists as, some of those greatest protectors. I'll stop rambling now and pass it to Adam for his wonderful contributions to the question.
Unfortunately, we now all need to take a nap, and that's only because what you listed that the organization does, that made me feel overwhelmed, but the necessity and the need and the actual humans that are involved in this are such a critical piece. I would imagine, Adam, I mean, I know that so many of the challenges are the same, but now, unfortunately for you, Adam, in answering this question second, you have to both provide the challenges and tell us something that we can all do to address them.
Oh, wow. The pressure is on. So I, I think, as I mentioned earlier, we know that the voices and the journalists are out there. The challenge is that we're seeing a rapidly changing structure of the industry that's pushing more and more talented journalists out of the field. We all see the massive layoffs from journalistic outlets. And what we're seeing is more and more marginalized voices and queer voices are the ones that are being targeted first in the layoffs. So
Right.
we really need to address that and make sure that the voices are kept in the industry to tell those important stories.
Gosh, I almost feel like sometimes the Buckeye Flame, as much as we are committed and our goal is amplifying LGBTQ plus Ohioans, I often feel like sometimes we're a halfway house for queer journalists who have been ejected from mainstream outlets. And I'm thrilled that they have been for us because they're so extraordinarily talented. But when I hear about the experiences that queer journalists are having in, again, whatever we're calling these, well, legacy media outlets, I can't even wrap my mind around it.
It's so interesting though to me, Ken, right? Because I hate to say this, but this is the history though,
Right.
right? Like this has happened before. Like I think of the ways that the Black press in particular was a home for a host of Black journalists who at a time were pushed out or kept out, right, of many of these legacy, outlets in spaces. And they become the lifeblood of our communities in so many ways. The Black press, the queer press, Latinx press, those are the places where so many folks, and I say this as a freelancer, right? Like who, after I was laid off from a full-time job, I've been freelancing since. And it has been the Black press and the queer press that has, helped me pay my bills many a time, let alone, continue doing the kind of reporting and storytelling that I'm interested in doing.
Whew, we got a lot of work to do in this field, but for right this second, everyone, you are listening to This News is So Gay. I'm your host, Ken Schneck, from the Buckeye Flame, Ohio's LGBTQ plus newsroom. Joining me this week, Adam Pawlus from NLGJA, the Association of LGBTQ plus journalists, and Tre'vell Anderson from the Trans Journalists Association. By the by, if you are not subscribed to This News is So Gay, what the heck are you waiting for? Subscribe to This News is So Gay right this very second on your favorite podcasting app so that new episodes automatically make their way to you. Well, last week, the Buckeye Flame published a report about how much Ohio LGBTQ plus nonprofits are struggling to do what they need to do because of financial challenges. And so this is kind of the weird place that the Buckeye Flame exists in, that we're in the journalism space, but we're also in the nonprofit space. And I love straddling that line. I have no idea what it is to operate outside of the nonprofit space and those challenges and also those joys as well. So let's hear how the organizations are doing. Adam, how is NLGJA doing as a nonprofit?
Thank you for asking. Well, I think I want to start by saying we're so fortunate to have a strong team of leaders in place, both on our national board and on our staff, as well as at the chapter level. We have a lot of activity and chapters forming to really put boots on the ground and help. So our convention and membership has also significantly grown over the past decade. We have new programming, like a new student virtual conference that we have in February. And many of our members are committing to us as lifetime members, which is fantastic. That being said, the attacks and disappearance of DEI dollars, as I put it, is definitely impacting the organization. So I would say that looking over the past 10 years, myself and the board have really been working towards that rainy day that inevitably will always come. We just didn't expect it to become monsoon season. So I think right now we're seeing the impacts, but I think from a longevity standpoint, we're secure for now. But really looking at new partners to work with so we can keep bolstering our mission.
I am more comfortable telling you this on the podcast than telling you offline. I should admit to you here, Adam, I've never been to the conference before.
Even I've been to the conference. I go every year. Ken, what's going on?
Times, Tre'vell. Ken,
what's going on?
We are excited to invite you to San Francisco in September. We hope you can make it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, we'll see what happens. Tre'vell, how is the Trans Journalists Association doing?
Ditto to everything that Adam said. I think that is a reality for nonprofits that do the kind of work we do and service the kind of communities that we do service across the board are experiencing difficulty. I think at the Trans Journalists Association, we have quite a privilege that our sibling organizations don't, because we are newer and because we haven't yet established kind of the funding, expected funding streams, right? In terms of, relationships with certain media companies or, other corporate entities, right? That had said DEI dollars, right? That would be very useful. I already said I'm a member of NABJ. I'm a former board member. So these conversations aren't new to me about the ways that our organizations keep the lights on and continue doing the work that we're doing. But I say we have a privilege in that case because we haven't been reliant in any sort of way on that entity. We obviously, as all of the organizations, have various philanthropic supporters that have been helping us keep the lights on and continued interest. I think we're really emboldened by the idea that folks recognize the importance of the work that we are doing, and they continue to show up, whether that is, our philanthropic partners or whether that's individual donors, right? Who regular people who are like, I will commit $10 to the Trans Journalists Association every month. It sounds small, right? But that kind of investment, it builds and it helps us continue to pay our contractors, right? Who come from our community of trans journalists, right? And have this particular expertise. It allows us to, one of the things I'm really excited about this year as an organization, we're going to try to do our first member convening as an organization, and providing a dedicated space and a protective and safe space, right, for trans journalists and gender expansive journalists to get the kind of professional development that we need and that other spaces aren't always providing. And especially in this moment where that kind of support can be even more so precarious than perhaps it was before. And so, like I said, we're digging our heels in because and I feel like this is probably the same for NLGJA, recognize, and NLGJA specifically, right, has waded some waters before, since the 90s. We know how the economies and whatnot can impact these things, but realizing the kind of collaborative nature, the supportive nature. Adam and NLGJA have been very supportive of TJA. We are of them as well as their local chapters. So yeah, I'm rambling as I always do, but things are good, even though I don't want to dismiss the financial challenges. And I actually want to make an appeal to all your listeners, right? You got $5 a month that you can contribute to NLGJA or the Trans Journalists Association or some other cause that you care most about.
The Buckeye Flame.
The Buckeye Flame. Absolutely.
Flame.
You got $15 a month to give $5 each, or whatever, and I think that kind of support and response is what all of our organizations need in this moment to like ensure that we can be here, not just for the rest of this administration and this moment that we are cycling through, but so many to come.
And just in case any of our listeners are acronymed out, NABJ, the National Association of Black Journalists, just because we want to get in there. And thus, I need to ask Tre'vell Anderson, did you go to the NABJ conference here in Cleveland?
I did.
And we did not hang out?
We did not. We did not.
All right. We got
conferences
some work to do.
Are there's so much going on at the conferences.
It's too much.
At all of them, especially for me, because I like to run my mouth, Ken. So I'm all over the place.
It's too much for me. And we would not let the two of you off the hook without a round of our weekly segment, Glitter Bomb. This is where our roundtable shares stories of queer joy that they are seeing out there that just plain make them happy. So let's set off a glitter bomb. Adam, let's start with you. Give us a story of queer joy that you're seeing out there that we should know about.
I think I have to start by saying the best glitter bomb that I know is Tre'vell Anderson.
Not
there
wrong.
It is.
You're not wrong.
Humbled to be in Tre'vell's presence. And right now our organization is accepting nominations for our awards, the Excellence in Journalism Awards. And although I have nothing to do with the judging or anything like that, it is so amazing to see the great work and hard journalism that our members are producing and the impact it's having on the industry. And I also wanted to give a little glitter bomb to the Buckeye Flame, who is receiving a nomination for the GLAAD Media Award for Outstanding Independent Journalism. Flowers.
Thank you.
Pew, 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 pew.
Yes.
Pew, pew,
No,
pew,
that
pew,
was
pew.
it was a lovely development last week. Yes, thank you for that.
Very excited for that.
It's also just amazing to be in the company of, I really didn't realize until the recent LGBTQ plus mapping project of LGBTQ plus newsrooms across the country, how few of them are nonprofits. And I just didn't know that. I assumed that we all were. And it turns out there's actually only a fraction of us that are. So if I can please amplify Tre'vell's call to these small monthly donors, I can't begin to express to folks how they make a huge difference for all of our organizations. So please get on that. And I will say, and when I say something on the air, and producer Gray will not edit this out, I will, by the end of the day, become a recurring donor to the Trans Journalists Association. I will make sure that happens. I'm already good with NLGJA. That's why we do
I am
this.
too. Shout out to NLG. I'm a lifetime
Yes.
member of NLGJA. Okay. We believe in collaboration over here.
Let's get you in on the glitter bomb, Tre'vell. Give us a story of queer joy that you're seeing out there.
My story of queer joy is coming from the Golden Globes, which
Yes.
happened this past weekend. There was a wonderful moment in which our Black queer queen, Wanda Sykes, presented an award for, I believe it was stand-up comedy or best comedy special or something like that. And the award went to Ricky Gervais, who was not present. And so I got a lot of joy when Wanda accepted the award on his behalf and dedicated it to the trans community, which we know is perhaps something Ricky Gervais would not appreciate.
Nope.
And so it made me smile and laugh and gave me a nice chuckle and bit of joy to start this week.
Amazing. We love that one. Well, we certainly want to hear what's coming up for all of you. Adam, what's on the docket in 2026 for NLGJA?
Yeah, so we are excited that our 35th anniversary of our convention is coming up this year. So we're kind of looking at the whole year as an opportunity to highlight our history and look towards the future. So as I mentioned briefly, we have a student conference on February 27th to 28th. It's geared towards students and entry-level young professionals in the journalism field. And it is a pay-what-you-can system. So if you can't afford it, we still want you there and taking advantage with a little career fair for people to take advantage of. We have the Excellence in Journalism Awards that are open right now, as I've mentioned a few times. Later this spring, we'll have a series of local events that we're calling Our Community to just get not only have joy within our chapters, but also get critical feedback back to us about what's going on out in the field. We're doing a digital archive project of our history, and our national convention is September 10th and 13th in San Francisco. So, and then hopefully teaming up with TJA on events throughout the year.
Amazing. Tre'vell, what should we get excited for in this upcoming year with TJA?
Yes, so much collaboration. I do want to shout out the DC chapter of NLGJA. We did an event with them late last year. So love that. What's to come for the TJA this year? Oh, baby, it's a lot going on over here. As I mentioned, we continue to capacity build to be able to meet this moment. And so we do have an open role right now in case anybody wants to be a communications and community engagement coordinator for the Trans Journalists Association. That position will be our third staff member as an organization. So still very fresh over here. We also are developing our own reporting fellowship to support our members and directly invest into the kinds of stories that we are interested in seeing. So that will be coming out. That program will start in March. We are doing our own membership convening. I won't say much about it because we want to protect ourselves, but we will have that available for our members and our community to get that targeted kind of professional development coming this year. And we continue to provide through our style guide, through our workplace resources guide, and through the Trans News Initiative, ongoing resources for folks to support in your reporting. And in what we're really coming to understand is that, you know, LGBTQ reporting, trans reporting, it's not just an individual beat. Right now, our communities show up in every single beat. And so we have resources that hopefully you will avail yourself of, so that we can, you know, transform some of the coverage that we are seeing. And so the TJA, lots going on in 2026, the year of our Lord and Savior, Beyonce Christ. And and we're excited, if you can't tell.
So much to look forward to. And the only reason that we're able to look forward to it is because of the incredible work being done by these organizations. And I know you both work with incredible teams and volunteers and boards. So thank you so much for everything you are doing. And that, my friends, is sadly all the time that we have for this week's episode. I want to thank our guest, Executive Director of NLGJA, the Association of LGBTQ plus Journalists, Adam Pawlus. Adam, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And everyone stroll on over to nlgja.org to learn more about what that incredible organization is doing. And Executive Director of the Trans Journalists Association, Tre'vell Anderson. Tre'vell, what an absolute joy.
Thank you. Thank you.
For that organization, you are going to transjournalists.org. Again, I'm Ken Schneck, editor of the Buckeye Flame. And if you liked this episode of This News is So Gay, please share it with a friend. Subscribe so that you do not miss out on our next episode. Send an email on over to editor@thebuckeyeflame.com. That's me, to let us know your thoughts, and rate and review us on your favorite podcasting app. This News is So Gay is a product of the Buckeye Flame, a nonprofit newsroom. Become a recurring donor today for as little as $12.50 a month, which truly enables programming just like this. In the meantime, read LGBTQ plus news, share the stories of LGBTQ plus reporters, support the organizations doing this work, and support LGBTQ plus newsrooms. Until next week, friends.